Hey everybody, it's Ken Compton from the Savvy Inspector. Today I'm hanging out with Coach William and we are talking about the workshop. Coach William, welcome, sir.
Good to be back.
Let me ask you this. Do you think any of our home inspector clients think they might be paying too much for home inspectors?
I know. I think some of them are. Yes, it's a problem. It's a problem, and you need to have a good pay structure that's profitable for you as a business owner, and all the risks that you're willing to take. So let's talk about that.
You know, if you go to work for a big corporation, they have a pay scale. So here's the job, and here is what we pay for this job. Okay, but why is it many home inspector prospective candidates want to argue about they want more money? They want a bigger split, or they want more of a flat fee to do what they do. I mean, what's wrong with them?
Yeah, I think some of it goes back to, in the last video we were on talking about, recruiting. And the classes, for us, again, it's a licensed state, so they have to go through those classes. And the classes are a beautiful thing. I'm not going to beat that up. But one thing that happens during those classes, and I know from myself years ago, is that they really gear those guys with that mindset. You're going to go out and, first of all, they probably took the class because they seen the infomercial that said they could, make $75,000 a year, work 2 hours a week, and all of these beautiful things that the reality is just, of course, not there. So I think that mindset through the classes is kind of ingrained in a lot of these guys.
Right. And that's one of the reasons I like to select a home inspector candidate that has no knowledge of the home inspection industry. In other words, the reason they're going to the school is because we sent them there. And then I have an opportunity in advance to say, you're going to hear this mindset that says, you can make $65,000 a year working 2 hours a day or whatever. And you know what? That's a crock of crap. The fact of the matter is, here's what it costs to run a business, and here's what we pay. But during the recruiting process, you have to lay all these details out, because if you don't get agreements on all these things, whether you use a non-compete, non-solicitation agreement, whatever it happens to be, if those details aren't worked out, you're going to have an unharmonious relationship with a person once they start to work for you.
Right. That's one of the beautiful things that we were talking about a while ago with automating that process, because you can. Only the candidates that apply, they know up front that the job's only going to be X. If they're making $200,000 a year right now, this ain't the job for you.
Exactly. We've screened those candidates, haven't we? The other thing I think is important that we've done, William, is extended the reach of you and all of our other clients by recruiting nationwide. I know you ran out of family to hire, so now you had to actually recruit.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's been other Savvy members that now have inspectors working for them that have transferred from other states. So, why would we think small and stay local in our own area?
Yeah, and the people that transferred in to go to work for our clients, they paid their own relocation expenses. Our clients didn't pay it.
Right. Yeah, they see what's in it for them.
And my experience is that if a home inspector, of course, I think a full-time home inspector is 480 home inspections, two a day, 5 days a week, 48 weeks a year. We always plan on 48 weeks, never 52. So you look, if you do $400 or $450 for your average inspection fee, they earn their small percentage. You're talking about a $55,000 to $75,000 a year job. Most of America does not make that. I saw something the other day where the average household income was like $42,000 or $43,000.
Right. And depending on the region you're in, that could be even a lot less. So yeah, I agree. That's, I think that's one of the, I'd say in our firm, one of the things that has helped us quite a bit is all of the inspectors have been very appreciative of the money that they make, and they know they couldn't go out to, welcome to Walmart and make that kind of money. So
exactly. I think Walmart even dumped the greeters now. I never see one.
Yeah. They're still here. They're still down here.
In your hood. They're not here in the hood where we are, but I say maybe you can't even go there anymore.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is there are people out there, good quality people that aren't making $55,000 to $75,000 a year, and they're great candidates, and they, like William says, are appreciative of your job. Right. So I think that's a big thing, and those are the people that you need to find. And if you've got, we're not hiring CEOs of the company, we're hiring solid people with good interpersonal skills and the ability to think, because the home inspection business is a thinking man's game.
Yes, sir. And and there's plenty of candidates out there. It's just you got to put this process in place, and again, kiss the frogs to find the good ones. And it's most of these guys aren't I guess I should say most of the candidates that we've had apply are not beyond that. I mean, they're pretty realistic. I just shared a one with you the other day, a resume that came through. Now he's part-time, and I know that's not for you and your firm, but this guy has a great resume. He's really way overqualified for this position. But guess what? He's at retirement age. He's looking for something to do. It's not about the money for him. So there's an exception to the rule. Somebody was making way more money than I could pay to be in a profession. But now he's at that point in his life where he makes a good candidate, and he's willing to not make that big. He's not after that big chunk of change. He's got retirement now. So again, just having that information out front, I think, stops us from having to deal with a lot of the, you had even touched on it one time that a lot of these folks are on unemployment, and in order to keep that unemployment, they have to show that they're searching for jobs. So they reply to everything that's out there, and guess what? Then we're the monkeys that have to sort all that out. So again, trying to keep that automated as much as possible, I think, is critical.
That is critical. Now, William, let's talk about hiring mistakes. You and I have made a hiring mistake or two in our life. And what we try to do is prevent our clients from following in our footsteps. But one of the biggest hiring mistakes I see countrywide is that somebody's really busy and they settle for somebody they shouldn't.
Why did I know you were going to say that? Yeah, that's exactly right. And we try to drive that home, that again, like I just said, it's the time that it takes to find that right person. That right person's out there. You've got to create that job, outline that job, and find the person that fits that. Don't fit the job to the person. I've done it, and it just never works out.
And I think that's the biggest thing. They see how many units, I call home inspections units, Coach William does. So how many units are going not getting serviced, and they think, I just got to have somebody. They don't get all the agreements signed up. They don't have the full discussions. The employee gets in, they start to work, and then they're dissatisfied, and there's conflict, and the employee leaves, and that's detrimental to the firm. One of the things your agents and prior clients want is consistency in your firm. And that doesn't do it. That definitely doesn't do it. That hurts you.
Right. Yeah, you're likely training a competitor if you're not careful.
I see one of the other big mistakes is home inspectors think they have to pay 50%. I think that's a joke. I think you're making no money at 50% as the business owner.
Yeah, I'm amazed by that, how many folks are paying that. And I really don't understand. I guess they feel like that's what it takes, for them to make that recruit. And I can tell you in the 12 years I've been doing this, that's not the case. If you're paying well, like we just said, you're able to pay that $55,000-$65,000 a year. You're going to get good candidates. You don't have to give away the farm to get good livestock.
Exactly. This is a for-profit business we're talking about.
Right. And I think these guys fell. And again, that's one beautiful thing about the Savvy, because I was like everybody else. I didn't start a home inspection business to be a businessman. I'm just going to go out there and do home inspections and make a little extra money. That's what it was all about. So being exposed to all this puts you in a different mindset to where you see the bigger picture and the opportunities that are there and the challenges that are there. So these one-man shop guys that don't think that way, this is a big shot of reality when you enter into the Savvy Inspector.
Now, how about, William, one of the things that happens is when you're a one-man shop, you don't need an employee manual, do you?
No, but you should be working on one.
Because if you abuse yourself, nobody really cares.
Yeah, that's right. No, you don't. But when you go to a multi-firm, that's an important thing to have. Just like you said a minute ago, if you don't have these things in writing and policies to follow, then it's any man's game. So very important that you have a set of standards to perform by, so people can progress, or you can let them go based on those standards.
And, I think one of the things that home inspectors, not just home inspectors, but small business owners hate are doing employee evaluations. But when you're hiring, people have to understand that there's certain expectations that have to be met, and that they're going to get reviews, and which I think is fair for the employee, and get feedback so that they can change anything that isn't perfect. And, when you're a one-man shop, you have nobody to review. But now it's become an integral part of your business.
Yeah, and it's a living document. I mean, and we're always putting addendums in to make it better. And you live and learn. I didn't have a compensation plan laid out step by step. This is what you do, and this is what you get if you do it in the beginning. And I've learned that there's too much gray area not to have those kind of, I'm just using that as an example, but those kind of things set in place. So yeah, and we're always improving that. We learn something new every day that makes that a better document or handbook.
Mhm. And I think, one of the things I've grown into, and I got it from you, was I always paid a split of revenue. But the thing I didn't like about that was that when I raised my prices, everybody got a raise, all the inspectors, whether they deserved it or not. And of course, Coach William, you've always paid a flat fee. And I wasn't warmed up to it in the beginning, but the more I thought through it and the more I saw how it worked in your firm, I really like it. And on the front of the Savvy Inspector website, the savvyinspector.com, there's a podcast on there just about that. So you could go listen to it. It's quite informative, but I really like that way. So I think when you're hiring and people understand you pay X for an inspection, that's easier to sell than a split.
Yeah, I have never had any trouble with it. It's not something that I set out to do and had a plan about. Knee-jerk reaction made my first hire after the first workshop because I seen that I was going to need that badly. So when I made that first hire, we was trying to settle on, what should it pay? I just came to the flat fee agreement with the guy, and that worked fine. And then as I hired in the future, I've just stayed with that, and it's worked out really well because just like you said, that's what another thing that kills me about these guys that are doing a 50% split. For 50% of the take, they're taking on all the risk. I mean, as a business owner, it's your neck that's out there. So what's that worth? And the extra hours that you put in securing and making sure that guy's got a job is surely worth more than 50% to you. And then when you raise your prices across the board, which you should do annually, when you do that, then you've given everybody a raise. So I just think the flat fee is a much better way to go.
It's the only way we recommend now, because what happens is an employee has the right to know how they would get raises, how would they get an increase in their compensation, and you can state that out front. One of the things I did was, as you were more valuable to the firm, then you got an increase. Okay, so in the old days, InterNACHI wasn't around, so you got ASHI, the basic membership level, and then once you got the 250 graded, you got that, and once you got building code certified, you got an increase again. So I laid out in our program the steps that you needed to take to be able to get a raise, and I laid it right out in the hiring process. So I had an inspector that came in one day and said, I've been here 2 years and I got a raise. And I said, well, hang on just a second. I go over to my filing cabinet, pull out his agreement and said, which one of these things have you done? And he said, none of them. And I said, well, how come you in my office? Yeah. Really? So I think in the hiring process, you should let the employees know how they can step up that ladder. And if they do step up the ladder, what happens to them? And employee evaluations are a very big part of that. But one-man shops haven't really thought through that yet. And in this breakout session, we're going to enlighten you on a bunch of things. We're going to give you forms. We're going to give you all kinds of things that you need when you're in the hiring process. Recruiting is one thing. That's getting the ad out and, getting people to respond to you. But man, when it comes to make a hire, you don't want to pay too much. And if somebody's going to hold you hostage on pay, give them our favorite 4-letter word, next. Because there's plenty of people out there. Once you extend your reach through the recruiting process, there's plenty of people out there that want your job.
Right. And to have that process in place from the recruiting right on through to your interviewing process, your probation period is a smart thing to put in, your orientation. If you have a training program, which you should, what's that entail? What does it take to get through that program? All of those things are part of hiring that inspector. We do if they don't make the training program, they're out. After the training program, there's a grace period of 90 days to let them prove themselves. So you got to leave yourself those windows of opportunity for correction, dismissal if needed, and so on. So yeah, again, for a one-man shop, you're not thinking that way, but when you go multi, whether you want to think that way or not, you're going to be forced into it.
And William, one of the things I see that's a big pitfall for our clients in hiring is compensation during the training program. Because you're going to say at Southern Home, it took 60 home inspections for you to get out of the training program. And because we were huge, we had inspections going 7 days a week. So the inspector could actually theoretically get out of the program in 30 days. And we don't pay. We buy lunch and we pay you mileage, but that's it. We don't pay you to train. Okay, so, but you take an inspector, we've had some clients that they set their training program, it took 4 months or 5 months, really? Okay, first, I don't get that, but secondly, who can go for no pay for 4 or 5 months?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a challenge that we hear quite often, and I agree. 5 months is kind of crazy. It should be, ours is about 50 inspections or less, basically, and I think that's a good round number. It takes about that to get a good sense of smell, taste, and hear to inspect. So, within that time frame, we've got it down pretty tight to be able to eliminate them or move them forward. And again, that's just a thought process that everybody's got to go through if you're going to be hiring.
Exactly. So in this breakout session, we're going to really get into the hiring process, what you got to have, what you should be thinking about, the whole thing. Maybe we'll even get into some insurance concerns and other things that you're going to need to know about when you bring them on. Most state laws don't require you as an individual business owner to have workman's compensation. But when you bring in an employee, whether the state requires it or not, if the employee sustains an occupational injury, then you're responsible for it. And we're going to talk to you about things that you can do to protect the firm from that as well. So it's always a full breakout session. So